The NA showdown is ready and waiting to happen. Gents, it's going to be DarkZero taking on Soniqs. A final best of one of today. How are we feeling? Thoughts, feelings? I'm not going to go to the bias one. I'll come to you first.
It'd be really easy to go to Jesse for this one, wouldn't it? It'd be really easy to just go and, well, why don't you take it, Jesse? You are itching. He's actually vibrating with excitement here to get underway with this one. Of course, we've got Soniqs. Of course, we've got DarkZero. The room, you'd be fooled for thinking this isn't the end of the day because it's really heating up in here now. Yeah. Both teams are loud, both teams are bringing it. I was outside actually when both teams were coming in and you could hear the music pumping. They both had the little speakers playing.
Yeah, they did.
There were some classics going on.
The All-American. I feel like we've saved the best for last. I'm ignoring the Canadian and the Brit both on these two rosters and the Mexican. It's all right. This is the All-NA battle, right? Again, we just saw Europe have their battle. We just had Brazil have their battle. Now it's Soniqs versus DarkZero. Two teams which, again, have both been considered the best in the region at different points in time. Soniqs, the official NAL champions from last year. DarkZero, major winners back in the past. Of course, both of them, I think, looking very strong coming into this tournament. DarkZero doing really well in the regular season of Stage 1, just losing out in the finals of Stage 1 in NAL. And Soniqs, while they did have a rough start to the year, crushed the LCQ, did really, really well, and are looking on fire through that first phase of the major, and now coming in, look very, very good.
Now, riding off of the back of the previous results that you've been highlighting there from yesterday's games, at least DarkZero managed to win versus Falcons, and Soniqs took on their opponent of D+ and managed to successfully win out that matchup. Talk to me about the caliber of the two opponents that these teams might have faced. How are we feeling about the run of games that Soniqs have had so far?
I'll say this right now. This is the most difficult game that either team has had up until this point. And that makes sense, right? We're in winners, we're playing Swiss, they're both 1-1. They've played good competition up until this point. But if you look at the stamp and you look at the actual quality of the teams that they've played to get here, neither team has played what you would consider an air quote favorite.
Yeah.
You know, they've played teams like Falcons, first time coming to a major, first time that men has been represented here. They've played teams like who D+, not had that greatest expectations of them. You know, there's all these teams that you could go on and list, and you start thinking, this is really showtime for both these teams. They found themselves in the 1-1, they found themselves in this position in the Swiss, and now they've got to go up against each other. It's a really tough game.
Absolutely, and I think despite the fact they have had easier opponents before this game, right? Both teams have showcased that they really have shown up to play. They've shown some really cool stuff. DarkZero yesterday had some really cool ideas on the roam. We saw some Oryx Solus combos working together to try to bait in some drones, get some really great aggression going on the defense. I think for Soniqs, they're in an interesting position because for a long time they held Grixer up as this super great star player that would really do a lot of the heavy lifting for them. Now he's taken more of a flex role, playing a lot of interesting operators to help support. We've seen Rexon step up, have a great time. Citizen's been really impactful. I think Gunner's been really developing into a strong player. So yeah, both these two teams are in really, I think, interesting arcs in terms of their cohesion, in terms of getting ready as a squad. I'm excited for this game.
Now, for the side of Soniqs, as of about 2 weeks ago, they've had a little bit of a shuffle, a little bit of a change up to their play style, playing a little bit more structured right now. How do you think DarkZero are going to fare up against that?
I mean, DarkZero can play their fair share of structure when they want to. You know, we saw what DarkZero did yesterday against Falcons. They came in with heavy counterbans. They really looked to debilitate their opponent and to remove some things that they find quite comfortable. I think they'll have to look a little bit deeper against a team like Soniqs to really achieve that same result. It's going to come more onto, you know, that structure versus that sort of flexibility style that we often see.
All right, map veto time, baby. Talk to me about it.
Just gets better. Theme park. Really good map for both these squads. I think DarkZero are a deadly theme park team. We've seen them play it throughout Stage 1. They've got a 3-1 record thus far in official competition. They look so scary. It doesn't matter if they're starting on attack. Doesn't matter if they're starting on defense. They've been amazing. And then Soniqs didn't play it a ton throughout Stage 1 up until the last chance qualifier. Won it twice there with Beast Coast and Aerial Rise. They managed to win it so far at the major as well in the play-ins. They've looked great on it. I think lower level of opponents so far, but just because they haven't beaten maybe the level of teams that DarkZero has beaten on Theme Park doesn't mean they can't.
Now, I know you've been chilling for NA since day one, since the day you were born, but I need to put you on the spot. Who's going to win this matchup?
Listen, this is tough. It's like choosing between two kids for NA.
Who's your favorite child?
Listen, I mean, we've been standing up here before the match started. DarkZero have felt so in it. They're yelling, they're getting excited, and while Soniqs have typically had the edge over DarkZero historically, it has been close, and I think DZ right now look like the best team in North America.
How about
I'll
Fuse,
counter
then?
it. I'll happily counter that. I'm going to say history repeats itself. Last time these two teams faced off on this map, together, it was in stage 1, 8-6 for the Soniqs.
Yep.
It's a close game. I would expect a banger, but I'm gonna go against Jesse here just for the fun of it.
Well, Inter and Pengu, it is over to the two of you. Let us know what your thoughts are.
Thank you very much. My thoughts are that it's going to be nice to see teams that we've casted already from this exact desk, this exact stage, this exact country so far this year. And, well, Soniqs got the leg up over DZ the first time around, but the rematch tends to favor the loser in game number 1. That means that DZ in a favorable position based on a very silly feeling we have.
Also, they're going back to theme park, and I say they are going back to theme park. I mean, DarkZero played against Falcons like this you brought up, and they looked very strong on this particular map. Whereas Soniqs, they played Oregon, and it was a couple of questionable moments
what map was
there. It was Oregon with a voice crack.
Did they play Oregon?
Oregon. It's been a long day, Parker. My voice needs rest, so if you want to do this solo cast here, by all means. I thought I'll just go. There we go. They played Oregon, and there was a couple of questionable moments from the side of Soniqs where they simply just were not playing at the level that we expect them to in terms of coordination, especially when it came down between Gunner playing on the offense, on the roaming, and then no one was there to support him. When you look at DarkZero, on the other hand, no one is ever doing anything in isolation. There's always a bigger plan, and everyone is invested into that plan together. Now, let's see if anything is going to be cooked up here in the operator ban phase, because this is the final chance for teams to target ban their opponents. They dealt with the maps, now they're dealing with the operators. Dokkaebi being removed from action from Soniqs. But we all know Troy, we know DarkZero, they got many more operators they can play. DarkZero says, let's make the roam more difficult to be cleared out by Soniqs by removing the Jackal as well. So both Dokkaebi and Jackal gone. I expect some pretty big roaming presence from both teams.
Jackal bans are just like not a thing we really see all that much anymore, so not surprising, but definitely not in vogue. It's far more common to see a Ying ban, who has been far and away the most banned operator on attack. What else have you and I personally seen today? Thatcher, Nomad.
Thatcher, Nomad.
Monty bans, we've seen Capital bans.
Yeah. There's actually been, I think today might have been the most amount of variance in operator bans across all the games today, because we saw like cancel bans in an earlier series. We've seen like Solus, Demira, we've seen Kaid, Thatcher, Dokkaebi. Like there's been so many different operators just due to what the map you're playing on, and of course who your opponent are. Some teams, they go for like, for example, DarkZero, they don't like playing against Asami. So they ban Asami across most maps, but then they will usually flex their attacker ban like in this game where they say, okay, Soniqs, they might want to play the Jackal. We don't care about the Jackal. We will just remove that from play. And when DarkZero played Theme Park against Falcons previously, we did see, let's think, Lion, Brava, IQ, Fuse, Capital, Ying, Dokkaebi. We saw so many different operators. And the thing about DarkZero that's worth noting is that when Panbasu first joined this roster, he was your typical no-brain, all-aim, just an Ash main kind of guy. Now he plays a flex role together with Troy, and Gavin has actually taken over that like very aggressive intro duty, and he really shined against Falcons.
Only hard breach we're seeing is on the Fuse. We forget Fuse has that secondary canopy, by the way. We talk a lot about Buck having access to it. We talk about the Ying having access to it. But DZ has it's a shield Fuse, by the way.
Yep. It's the same Canadian trick as he did against Falcons. Now what happened there, Canadian dropped the yellow hatch on the roof and died. That was it. We never saw what the Fuse was intended for, but it was on this exact armory throne attack. So perhaps this time we can see what the intended purpose was for the Fuse.
He's going to stay alive long enough for the hard breach and the primary gadget to really do its magic. Spot Gunner for a second by the cafe door as he goes for a drive-by on the drone. Oh, he's under fire right away. This is tough. Gunner's gonna get Candela'd and immediately reposition. He gets away safely. They made in Pambazoo, and Grixer gets kill number 1. Excellent play by the Soniqs to slow down the entry from DarkZero.
Yeah, so I guess right now Canadian playing the Fuse shield to try and help clear the roam, but no one's there to help him. His feet are taking a lot of damage. The issue with playing the shield here is Canadian can't fight back, and he goes with the reload. Makes things worse. He gets killed by Gunner.
So we don't see anything from the Fuse whatsoever. Now it's Gavin's turn to die, and things have just fallen apart for DarkZero. Achieve fires a bit too early. Citizen makes him pay for it. Soniqs, not just about to win the round flawlessly, but the only point of damage that's been done to them was Gunner blowing through a wall himself as Oryx. So not a single bullet from DarkZero has connected. NJR's found his way into the middle of the bomb site. Icy's bullets whiz over his shoulder. Wall blows up next to him. It's a formality. A perfect start for Soniqs, goodness.
Yeah, I think it's pretty safe to say that Soniqs went to Theme Park for a reason. They saw that game on Theme Park against Falcons and they said, we expect you to go for that same exact attack, you know, come from the cafe side, clear it over. They had 4 roamers actively on that side of the map. They had the hatch above the bomb side of Split opened up, so if the, you know, roam clear presence from DarkZero was too good or too great, then they could just fall back that hatch back to the bomb side itself, and DarkZero didn't really make any ground on this map. They got in the window, they got in a door, and then they immediately died right after. Falcons, they had early presence against DarkZero, and that's how they picked up a couple of rounds themselves. Soniqs, of course, with the lineup that they have, they brought over Citizen, right? They picked up Geo, they got Gunner, and then they kept that core of like Rexen and Grixer. They have some of the best players in the North American League when it comes to individual potential gun skill and mechanical skill. If there's a team that can fight you on those early entries, it's going to be Soniqs. Now, DarkZero, they normally go about the problem solving of Siege in a very strategical and structured manner. That's how Canadian plays the game. He's the IGL, he leads the team. So I wouldn't be surprised to see the Ying like we saw last round, some Munty, some Fuse Shield like we saw as well. With Dokkaebi and Jackal both banned, it's going to be more difficult to fight the roamers head on, so you have to go to other means. In this round, it's going to be a Munty, and I imagine Canadian will do the same kind of thing as last round on Fuse. The only difference is he's actually gonna have a useful operator this time for it. That's when they can extend that shield and not get shot in his toes. We just saw a Lesion shotgun from Geo, by the way.
We did.
Yeah,
We sure did.
I'm not sure about any of that. You do need a lot of self-destruction when you play the lap bomb site because you spread so thin across the map with a lot of rotations, but Lesion shotgun? I don't know, Geo. Prove me wrong, but I doubt this.
He's got a skin on it, so I don't think it was accidental. Like,
No, I don't think so either.
It's one thing if you look and it's like, oh, you know, back in the early days, Pambazoo, by the way, getting a lead-off pick in this round. Back in the early days, where guns didn't come with attachments on them or skins or anything along those lines, you could see a gun and, oh, it doesn't have a sight on it, oh, it doesn't have this on it. It's very obvious that it was a mistake.
Yeah.
It does not look like a mistake. It looks like Geo picked it deliberately. Gunner's dead, by the way, so at least those cams will persist.
Yeah. Now we can kind of see DarkZero applying their pressure. Wall opened up. Munty not quite enabled just yet, but with that opening kill onto Valkyrie, it's gonna buy them at least a little bit more gun power back. Citizen with an early drop. Same thing goes to Oryx of Rexen. They have actually surrendered the top floor hold, which is going to be above the gunfight near that cafe area of the map. That means now DC, once they figure this out, they can take that full map control and achieve with that hammer, can start doing the work. Get that floor destroyed, get some lines of sight down towards the bomb side, and DarkZero, they have so much time to work with. Soniqs either have to go for a synchronized play to try and get this back on their flank, or try and challenge these vertical angles, because 4 versus 5 against the Munty, they're gonna get run over.
Oh, achieved. Thinks he's got the drop on Grixer, but it's the other way around. Soniqs can answer back. Achieved sledging, not quite up to snuff. Trouble now brewing for DarkZero as they walk into the site, but Canadian will have to pull the goo mine out of his feet, taking some damage in the process. The thermite of Gavin drops as well. He's got to get past Citizen first before he can get in there, and he actually does so successfully. Down goes Gavin to Grixer from a different position. Rexen also taking out NJR. Down goes Rexen, though, in trade from Pambazoo. It's all left to Pamba, and Citizen gets in on it as well. Goodness. Phenomenal stuff through 2 rounds for Soniqs.
Yeah, and I mean, they had to challenge out on a flank for the verticality, and Kruger did just that. He killed the Chief on the sledge before he could do enough self-destruction to make the bomb site vulnerable. Canadian is on the Monty, but again, nobody's playing around him. He's in the midst of the bomb site. He eats 3 separate goo mines throughout that round, which slows things down. He takes a bit of damage, and you see Gavin on the thermite trying desperately to make it back to the bomb site, to try to help Canadian, who's in a plant position. But again, all alone. DC missing their marks in these first 2 rounds, but also Soniqs playing very close together. We didn't see Geo Shotgun Unleashed do anything in that round.
Geo do a thing.
No, exactly. He just wasn't needed in that round, essentially. But at the same time, those goo mines that were problematic for Canadian on the Monty, those came from Geo. So while his weapons themselves didn't do much work, his gadget did. He had those impacts as well. He could toss out towards the Monty, do some damage, and again slow things down. And DarkZero now, 3 out of 3 rounds, will try and change up the approach. Now they go from the Monty onto the Brava. Pambasu picks up the IQ. They're having some issues and difficulties with those Valkyrie cameras, but guess what? Soniqs, they're smart. They play the Valkyrie, then they go off it. That's gonna force out the IQ pick now as a guessing game, and that's quote-unquote now a useless operator. IQ doesn't really get any tremendous amount of value in this round because you're up against a Rooney, Goyo, Smoke, Wine, Warden. There is no Yokai drones, there are no Valkyrie cameras, etc. So now Pambasu, sure, can be more of a gunner, but he doesn't have a primary gadget with much value.
Why does he have that on the Super Short?
Why does he have what on the Super Shorty? Sorry?
See the sight that he has on the Super Short?
Oh, the sight.
Why?
It's purely for style points.
There was a post, I believe it was on the Rainbow Six subreddit today, that showed the Type 89 with that same casing on it, and it takes up like half of your screen. It's like, let's take a gun that's already abnormally large on the screen, and let's make it even bigger.
You know, when you play the AUG on online back in the day as well, it takes up like pretty much like 75% of your screen.
Yeah.
It's rough.
You get IQ playing that with the old ACOG on it. It's like you don't see anything anymore. What's that?
No.
Interesting choices. Canadian on the 3rd operator. Played Fuse, played Monty, now playing Brava. Already got a default cam off site. Oh, he might spot one of these players. Oh, yep. He gets the Wamai, and there's a run
Coming out.
As Claymore gets it instead. Rexon's not able to do any damage before he hits the ground. At least Canadian got the read on that one. Down goes Pambazu to Gunner. Canadian actually misdroned that. He was so fixated on the office sign, he didn't get the initiation sign. Down goes Achieved as well. These offsite players for Soniqs are making mincemeat out of DarkZero.
Yeah, it's looking very unorganized for DC. They have no control.
Canadian in a gunfight, now inside a vault. Loses it. No, he sees Gunner down below, but Citizen bails his teammate out. DZ look positively lost in this round. And now it's Gavin taking damage from an angle he wasn't prepared for. He finds Grixer. He's got 3 more players from Soniqs to find. Can he pull it off? He's got a read on one. Looking for the pop-up, but no, Gunner's there. Seals the deal, 3-0, Soniqs.
I'm gonna go out on a limb here and say this is a theme park defense, because that's the only card I have left. I mean, DC, they know how to attack it. We saw it against Falcons. They love theme park as a map across the entire last year of competitive play, but this is not the DC that we're used to seeing on this map. Soniqs are doing a great job at making it difficult to do anything right now, but we see every single member from the attacking lineup being completely isolated positions, very far off one another, no trades, no mini executes, and as we saw, there were multiple defenders that were roaming that got simply misdroned or not even droned at all. DC calls their tactical timeout. There's 20 seconds left for it. They gotta talk things through and figure things out because, yeah, I don't know if it's because it's a late game, you know, it's 9 p.m. here local time, not that late actually, or what's going on, but this is not good enough for DC.
He gave up Dragon and he went like red side. There was 2 guys by me, like there was one block. Let's go boys, come on, good shit guys, we're playing fucking amazing, playing good together, keep it up. Let's go.
1 minute. 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 1 minute
Heard DC they discussed that they were talking about where the roamers were and where they were escaping to and where they were coming from. And then we hear, I think it was Gunner, while looking at DC's play games, going, "Oh, let's go, we're playing so freaking good." And it's like, oh, that's not DarkZero saying that. Because I was like, why would they say they're playing so good when they're losing 0-3? But bit of a clip there in audio. Full bomb site rotation for Soniqs. That's what happens when you go up 3-0 on defense. You can go back to where things started off and thrown bomb site. One of the most defender-favored maps, or sorry, bomb sites in all of Siege currently and in the last calendar year of competitive play. Canadian with his 4th operator now onto the Ying to enable the execute more and freeing up Pambusu from that previous flex role playing those kinds of operators, allowing him more freedom to go, for example, for the armorer, get in the building to establish that roam clear, and again, deal with the roamers from Soniqs because they are doing the same thing. I mean, they got 4/currently 5 members basically off the bomb, so you have Geo on side on cams usually. That's really it. Hatch open to the side for a fallback. It's very important on a roam clear on a theme park that you do what we call a hammer and anvil approach, where you're gonna have one side like push the opponents away from you, but then into the anvil. So if you're all coming from one direction, you're just gonna shove the opponents back to the bomb side. You need to catch them somewhere on the map, otherwise you're just gonna burn down the clock, lose a bunch of drones, so there has to be made contact somewhere for the attack and lineup. That's why you see people going on both the cash balcony and the cafe balcony to hopefully meet in the middle at some point in this round to capitalize on the rumors of Soniqs, which you see are very aggressive right now, already shutting down drones, already denying entries.
Well, the roam game for Soniqs has been pretty much flawless at this point. Gunner in the same predicament he'd been in before. There goes a Candela through arcade window. The follow-up from the EE1V that had been launched just before is not there. But guess what? Pambazoo decides to rappel on in. Grixer guns them both down inside a break room. Good Lord. Again, the off-site play of Soniqs has been mighty fine. No answers whatsoever for Grixer. No answers for Gunner. DarkZero having some major struggles. Oh, this is child's play. Absolute child's play.
It's not fair. I mean, I bet you DC regret the Jackal ban now, that's for sure.
4 kills for DZ, a 5th is added to it onto Grixer. That's a high priority target. But just like you and I were talking about in a previous matchup we casted, DZ right now are only averaging 2 kills a round. That's not gonna get it done. They've used their timeout. Citizen looking to inflict more pain, and he does so. Gavin on the follow-up, but now he's given his position away inside of initiation. He's left alone yet again. What can he possibly do? Honestly, if you're Soniqs, you just need to sit pretty at this point. Sit on the bomb site, wait for Gavin to come to you. 30 seconds left. The way that bomb site plays out, you've got a lot of crossfires at your disposal. There's not a ton that Gavin can do, especially as he drops here. Nice play on Rexon, but again, there's the crossfire. That was a formality at that point. Soniqs, I mean, it would have taken a lot of effort to throw that. For Soniqs, they don't throw it at all. 4-0 for SQ.
I just found a major flaw in Soniqs' round there. It's a 1v3 for Gavin, right? And what do they do? Well, they don't let Geo in on the action. Geo hasn't fired a bullet since round number 1. If DC at some point wakes up and a comeback gets initiated, Soniqs are playing with 4 members. Like, Geo hasn't played the game yet. He's playing Bandit on the bomb site, waiting for something to go wrong, but it doesn't. So,
hey, hold on. Geo has 2 assists. He's definitely been in the game, and he has a kill.
he had leashing goo mines. That barely counts.
Geo has 0 deaths. He's just been snoozing in a corner.
Literally, he like
Sleepy Geo returns.
I mean, this is not needed. But I mean, I think the ultimate strat there is that you tell the other members that are allowed on Soniqs to take a backseat, hide in the corner, and let Geo take the 1v1 against Gavin, like arena style, you know? Get him in the action, because poor Geo's going to play warm-up soon at this point. He's playing Bandit, he's playing Mute, he's playing Leash's Shotgun, he's done some impact grenade damage, some goo mine damage, and he's gotten 1 single kill in the literal first round, basically. We'll see. For now, Soniqs looking mighty fine, and DC, they cannot seem to figure out their struggles and their problems. It's the same thing every single time. The early roam from Soniqs works out so successfully that the round is pretty much done and dusted in the first minute and 20 seconds because DC are down 2 or 3 members and they cannot progress through the map. Now, Theme Park, as you know from Ranked, from Pro League, etc., it's a very difficult map to walk around as an attacker. It's a very big map, lots of rooms to drone, verticality, difficult rooms to enter, quite frankly. And you only have 3 minutes. You don't get an extra minute on the board because you're playing a bigger map. So you basically gotta do a lot more work, a lot quicker, a lot more efficiently. And again, with the operator bans being Jackal and Dokkaebi, that is naturally going to make this roam clear a lot more difficult. So Soniqs playing very beautifully into the operator bans and abusing that fact. And now we see them go one step further. Gunner on the Vigil, for example. Now the drones that can locate the roamers are not even going to give you 100% accurate information because that Vigil cloak ability is going to be active throughout the most of this round.
Yeah, the one thing that I've really taken away from this is how DZ seems to be playing like individuals.
Yes.
And they are being picked off individually, while Soniqs are at least within arm's length of one another. I mean, with the way that Grixer played that last round, you don't really need a second person there. With the way that Gunner played 3 rounds ago, you didn't really need somebody there either. But having them close by is great because then you can trade out. At the end of the day, the DZ is just simply not getting it done on the entry department. It's dooming them right now. Now, they might be able to get something with Gunner as Canadian's breathing down his neck. Gunner falls off very wisely, leaving Canadian upstairs alone. He's got the sledge of Achieved with him as well. Achieved obviously hoping for better success than he had in the previous round in the same position, where he tried to play the 2-way angle against Grixer and got obliterated.
Yeah, I was gonna say we've seen this happen before. Same kind of pace, 1 minute and some on the clock. Achieved has to make a different move this time. Cannot die to the verticality. Canadian almost died to it just a second ago. And that's not gonna be great because there's still 1 impact in Gunner's pocket and Gunner gets to open kill onto NJR.
Again, the entry from DZ is just not good. Soniqs looking mighty, mighty strong when it comes to these entry plays, and Canadians walked into the bomb site. Now he needs the rest of the team to cover from above. Canadian is being chipped away at. There he goes to Citizen. Gunner the only person in a body bag right now for Soniqs, but actually a number will join him. Pambazu looks the wrong way at the wrong time. Leaving Achieved upstairs, hammer in hand. Nowhere to go but rush into the bomb site. Attempting the defuse plant, but he's next to a soft wall. Soniqs able to get the read on this. Achieved falls off. Hold on a second. It's now Rexon's turn to run on in, and he should be able to get this. No problem. 5-0 for Soniqs.
Oh boy. Gunner is losing his headset in excitement over the situation here being...
Pablo, you like that?
I see Gunner just sitting in sight. I'm just chilling. He wide swings the window and just kills the guy.
All you hear is reset. I'm gonna take bandit to bandit trick the wolves, guys.
Did I down Monty?
No, I can't.
No, you didn't. You like missed it a bit, but he was.
They're all celebrating and taking a victory lap over what just transpired, and Citizen's like, guys,
Reset.
we need to win this round.
Yeah, I like that. I don't want to say that's the EU mentality by any means, but Citizen is like, the job's not done, right? He recognized that DC, a lot of respect being paid here. They can still win, they can still come back, but we did see Citizen there. He celebrated too for a brief moment, but it is important that you talk about the future right now, right? You only have this 30-second prep phase. You only have like 20 seconds before they choose the bomb site, the operators, the setup, etc. Talk about the strategical elements. They opt for the office bomb site, or the bunk bed bomb site rather, as we see here. And you can kind of play with the open rotation walls, you can play with the mirror windows, you can play below with Valkyrie cams, and you can also play for wall deny, which is what Soniqs have opted for. So they're gonna reinforce basically all the walls, not really extend out that aggressively, which is going to be a big change to the previous rounds where they did extend, and try and bandit trick the walls instead rather, and play against the Heartbreachers of DC, which is only the ace of Achieved really in this round.
Yeah. Well, Canadian on his 5th operator through 6 rounds so far. Only Monty showing up more than once. I gotta say, can't really say there's been much success on any of these roles, but well, you obviously want to carry water for Canadian here, but on both Fuse and the 2 Monty rounds, I don't think there's any real follow-up from the rest of the team.
No.
I can't point fingers at the Fuse or the Monty as being the main issue when the rest of the team wasn't there to help around him.
Yeah, I mean, you can always look at people who play Fuse and go, okay, Monty is not a hard operator to play necessarily, which may or may not be true, but the thing about when you play the Monty or when you play shield operator is that it's not so much the individual who plays the shield character, it's more about how the team plays around with that particular operator. And as you mentioned, yeah, Canadian very much alone, but not just on the shields. DarkZero, throughout the first 5 rounds, they just have not been playing together. They haven't been getting the trades going. And we even see Citizen, who is supposed to be bandit tricking the walls, getting active because the timer's running so low. At this point, there's not going to be needing any bandit tricking.
This round's flown by. We're at the halfway point, Nick. Drone after drone after drone thrown in Citizen's direction, and Canadian is on a collision course with him right now inside of Cash. Or now inside of Cash, who's just at the doorway. They get a single mark off of that EE1D. Canadian's been droned in maybe long ago. If this information's not particularly relevant, he could be walking into harm's way by himself. Again, DarkZero not looking like much of a cohesive unit in this match. And there goes Gavin.
Yeah.
Did nobody drone out Cafe? Rexon takes that engagement, wins it. Cafe has not been surrendered at all. There's an attempt from a different direction. Gunner falls, but Rexon's still there, the pivot. And DZ gets taken to the woodshed in that fight.
Yeah, I mean, when Gavin swung the cafe door, the drone was actually on its way from NGR, but again, bit of a mistiming, miscommunication from DarkZero. Once again, they play from a numbers disadvantage. They have no way into the bomb site because the bandit trick is in action. They can't breach the walls. 25 seconds left. They've made it to top yellow, the area that Soniqs did surrender, but they got the crossfire.
And now there's no follow-up at all. There's 2 drones still on the board, but Pamazoo thought he'd cleared it. Rexon's still in there. What is happening? 6-0 for the Soniqs.
That sums it up perfectly. What is going on? This is not how any of this should be playing out, but it is the reality that we're looking at right now. The only way back is for DarkZero to go 6 straight in a row, just like Soniqs did to them on the defensive half. But looking at momentum, looking at player confidence, looking at the faces of these players between DarkZero and Soniqs, it looks like a pretty one-sided story because, frankly, DarkZero are looking lost. DarkZero, they're a team who will always go back to basics, the structured style of Siege whenever they struggle to attack. And it's such a stable way of playing because you're not supposed to be skipping steps and missing corners, but they are. I mean, they thought they cleared Cafe twice, but they didn't. Rexon never left, so he kills everybody from that position. It feels like this is a try and play a major game without a single drone use here from DC, and they banned Jack also to make it even more difficult for themselves. They'll start on lap. This could be, if things go wrong, their final round, their first defending round. They will bring out the mirror, they'll play a Rooney, they'll play around that structure that DC loves to play. Soniqs, they have so many rounds to play with here. They can try and just figure out what works for them. They'll start with a pretty big mix of operators, really. They got 2 drone operators in Twitch and Floors with the utility. They got a quick entry and gunner on the Amaru. They even get a single DMR shot through a drone hole onto NGR to make things even more frustrating for DC. Citizen, on a comfort pick of Nuke, can creep in through the map, tricks on the line, can make DC stand still unless you're near a jammer to help those gunfights go their way due to Jackal and due to Dugby banned off the board. So Soniqs with a great read on this, both strategically and fundamentally so far. But of course, this is the lap bomb site. There's a lot of map to work with as a roam clear, and so far Soniqs are just kind of droning everything out, seeing where all the pieces are for DC before making a decision.
Really hard to sugarcoat this one for the DarkZero fans. This has been a dreadful match for them.
Yes, it has.
I mean, it was last time they played, it was at 8-6 in favor of Soniqs. Oh boy, how DZ fans probably wish an 8-6 was on the table at the moment.
Yeah. And I think it's important that it is being said that when a team at this level of play is not living up to standards, because we know how good DC can play, we know what can be expected from them, and this is simply just not it. Half round has been burnt now from Soniqs, and they're just taking their time. Nice and slow, easy does it. But once again, it's Pemba who dies first to Gunnar.
It's only been 1-7-0 at this event so far. Is that correct? At least
That's
that I
correct
can
by my
recall.
count.
By all the data that I have.
Liquid Revan earlier today.
That is correct. Well, yesterday. That's fine. All the days blending.
Was it yesterday?
It was indeed yesterday.
There's no way. Wait, yeah, it was yesterday. Because Liquid played the event today.
That is correct.
Oh my god.
4 kills away from our second 7-0 in this inter-regional matchup. These teams know each other decently well, but I mean, just as we've said time and time again, just because you know something does not mean that you can pull it off. Pambazoo is usually somebody who can be a serious difference maker for DarkZero. Gunnar actually missed Gavin inside a bathroom. That is not good. Now Citizen takes some damage. Gavin moving into position, takes the head off Citizen. He's flashed as a follow-up, but now the jig is up. NJR taking some damage in the process as well. Grixer down. There's signs of life for DarkZero at the moment. Worried about Achieved, worried about NJR. That's what the fans should be saying at the moment. Geo, who has not participated in half of this game, will not do the same in that round. It's all up to Gunnar. And a 1v3 for the perfect 7-0. Won't get it done. DZ puts their first round on the board, but it's a long road back. They'll have to go perfect on their half if they want a victory.
It's a start that they needed. Now, they did lose the opening engagement between Pambazoo and Gunnar, but then Gavin picked up 2 quick kills, and they're right back at it. Lab bomb site, as I mentioned, very big. You can utilize the entire map as a defending team, and Soniqs just really playing it slow and safe, trying to figure out the safest route to the bomb site. But then you're going to be met by frost traps, Capcan traps, crossfires, and of course, Gavin inside the bathroom. That was just too much for Soniqs to handle. Bomb site rotation, no surprise. Throne Armory and Lab are the 2 strongest statistical bomb sites on this map currently in professional play. But as I said earlier as well, there are just so many ways to play them. The mirror, without the mirror. For example, now GR bringing out the Echo shotgun as well, should I add, with those impact grenades in pocket. It's important to note because the bomb site member is going to be a wall deny operator typically, so you can have 3 or 4 roamers above, and then the person who's on the bomb site can be checking cameras and denying any hard breach on the walls. Soniqs, they play Geo on Bandit. He of course can Bandit check the walls. NGR will play Echo. That means you can check those cameras while being safe on the bomb site, and if any of the attackers tries to breach the walls open, he can then use the impact grenades instead of having a deployable shield to deny that hard breach as well, to stall for time so that the roamers can come back to the site, because that hatch leading to the bomb site downstairs has been opened up. This allows for more dynamic and aggressive play from the defending team. If the hatch were to be reinforced, there wouldn't be a quick avenue back to the bomb site that is necessarily safe, so that's a big key difference here between a roaming Armory Throne and a more turtle-oriented passive strat, if you will, at that. So we can very much see a DC. They're active on the map. They've picked their corners of the map where they were going to be playing, cafe, bunk beds, etc. They're going to try and hold that ground and stall for time.
I really got to say, I like the shield play that's being brought so far, though none of it's really been all that successful. And it's not a shield that goes down first, it's Gunnar, who doesn't expect the wild swing from Pambazoo. DZ open up the killing, and in response, very quickly, there'll be an EE one day used. Down goes NJR on the swing. Rexon's just in the middle of the site, excuse me? Hello? The double drop. Rexon, you've got the diffuser, friendo. You've got to get that planted. I understand that the stats look nice when you kill them, but maybe, just maybe, do the job of the site. Another body hits the ground for DZ. Diffuser goes down successfully. Canadian fighting right now, but it's just been reduced to Achieved to keep DZ in this. Geo and Grixer for Soniqs still upright. Achieved will fight his way out of the spot, but guess what? One of the 2's a Montaigne.
Oh, the GG call in chat.
Disrespect from Soniqs. Can Achieved pull this one off? Walking in, he knows where the DMR is, but he can't make it work. Boxed out, Grixer gets it done. Soniqs let DZ take a single round, but that was it. The outcome of this match was never in doubt past round number 3. Soniqs started things off with a perfect first round. Not a single point of damage done to Soniqs in round 1 by DZ. They win it flawlessly. DZ burns their timeout, but it would be 4 more rounds until DZ would get on the board at the tail end of round 7. That was the most lopsided matchup that I think you and I have casted, and certainly for today.
I agree. I mean, I gotta say, it feels great to beat Gio, right? That's like not like a minimum effort to win, but like he didn't really need to do a whole lot in the series. Plays Monty in the final round, just kind of walks around, extended shield.
Gio might have had the easiest day of any single person here at the event.
Literally.
Show me somebody who didn't work as hard as Gio. Show me somebody who just got to take the day off.
And
That's what I want.
they won, not a losing team, but a winning team.
No, absolutely.
Yeah.
He played his role just fine. The rest of the team showed up huge. Gunnar, who's battled consistency issues himself, was dynamite today, and Grixer was back in fine form. Ever since allowing Gio to take the full reins of this team as the primary IGL and making most of these calls, the team has looked spectacular. A lot of that also goes to the support staff, their coach, Goddess, Joe Bro, Super as general manager, and everybody else at Soniqs to put together a winning team. For DarkZero, something's got to change, obviously. Maybe don't go to theme park. It was funny because in the green room right before we got into the matchup, we were talking about, okay, well, theme park should be relatively even. This will be a fascinating game to watch. Well, I mean, it was fascinating, but maybe not for the reasons you'd think. Either way, you're going to want to hear from the winners. We're not going to impede that.
Well, Richie, how's it feel taking that victory?
Well, now we're 2-0, so one more and we lock playoffs. Obviously, it feels pretty good.
So DZ actually played this map yesterday. What did you guys take away from watching their matchup from yesterday's games? Did you check it out at all?
Well, obviously, with Vaudeville, Gunnar, for example, was just telling us where Pamba enters a lot of the time. So an adaptation would be for me to hop off Mozzie onto Frost and then set the Frostmans down and play accordingly. We also said that they cause a lot of commotion, like the gang or something, for them to enter elsewhere. So just sit still and bait your teammates.
So anticipating playing versus DarkZero, obviously the boys behind you are not necessarily feeling the greatest. Any words you'd like to give their way in how they played that matchup?
I mean, obviously, DarkZero is a very good team.
Yeah.
We all know that. Like, you know, they got first or second in the NL, but it's always a hard time playing those guys. I always like playing them. And, I mean, just keep their heads up. They'll probably make it to playoffs anyways.
Mm-hmm. And for your upcoming matchups, obviously, as you did mention, you're now 2-0. Please don't give me the boring answer that every player has been given me of, we don't care who we play, yada, yada, yada. Who do you want to play?
If you want an actual answer, probably W7M. Obviously, a very good team. I mean, my own answer would be to play the easy teams because I just want to make playoffs. But W7M is obviously like a really, really good team. I've never played them, and I want to see how we match up against them.
And are there any teams in particular that you feel would kind of struggle facing off against your playstyle? Obviously, as we mentioned earlier, you've had a little bit of a change-up, a little bit of a shake-up recently. Anybody you think in particular that would struggle to face you?
Honestly, I got no idea.
Okay, amazing stuff. Well, any words that you'd like to give to the folks at home or anything like that?
I appreciate you guys staying up really late. I mean, this game is like, what, noon or 2 p.m., whatever it is inside the U.S., but I appreciate the fans obviously staying up watching us at 4 a.m., and I mean, we're here to try and win this thing.
So what's next for you and the boys for tonight?
Well, I'm playing TFT. I don't know what they're doing.
You don't know what they're doing?
I got no idea.
All right, well, wonderful stuff. Thank you so much for joining me.
All right, do I just...